This is KGW News at noon.
This assistance would provide even more artillery, armored vehicles, anti-armored systems, anti-air capabilities.
President Biden is asking Congress for an additional $33 billion to support Ukrainians in the fight for their country. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brenda Braxton. The White House is also pushing legislation aimed at Russian oligarchs. Bree Jackson reports from Washington.
With no end in sight to Russia's deadly attacks on Ukraine, President Biden wants to send even more help to Ukrainian forces.
This so-called supplemental funding addresses the needs of the Ukrainian military during the critical weeks and months ahead. This assistance would provide even more artillery, armored vehicles, anti-armored systems, anti-air capabilities.
The latest funding request follows Russia's efforts to retaliate against countries supporting Ukraine. Russia cut off gas supplies to 2 NATO members after they refused to pay in rubles, a move the EU denounced as blackmail. The U.S. pledges to send more liquefied natural gas to help.
We have been working for some time now, for months, with partners around the world to diversify natural gas supply to Europe.
Vladimir Putin is ramping up his threats, promising to respond quickly if outside countries interfere in Ukraine, saying the response to counter-assaults will be lightning fast. The U.S. warns if Russian attacks continue, so will sanctions.
And the world must and will hold Russia accountable.
In a surprise move, Russia released American Trevor Reed from detention as part of a prisoner exchange for a convicted Russian drug trafficker. Reed was sentenced to 9 years, accused of assaulting Russian police officers. His family is thankful for his return.
Finally, after waiting all this time, I'm going to be able to hug my kid, put my arms around him.
President Biden wants Congress to keep the flow of arms and aid to Ukraine going as tensions with Russia remain high. In Washington, Bree Jackson for NBC News.
Back here in Portland, 5 different choirs are rehearsing for a fundraising concert this weekend benefiting Ukraine. The show on Sunday includes the Portland Symphonic Choir, Oregon Repertory Sings, and an a cappella group from Grant High School. 180 singers in all will perform some of Ukraine's best-known songs. Mercy Corps and members of Portland's Ukrainian community will also talk about what the country needs right now. The concert is at the First United Methodist Church in Goose Hollow here in Portland. For ticket information, you can go to voicesforukraine.org. We're hearing from a family member after a crash that killed 2 teens and injured a sheriff's deputy in Beaverton. This happened just before 12:30 Wednesday morning. A 16 and 17-year-old died after the Nissan Altima they were in allegedly ran a red light and crashed into the deputy's patrol car. He is critically injured, as were 3 other teens in the sedan. Matthew Amaya was one of the kids killed. He was a student at Southridge High School. We talked to his cousin.
It just brought my world down. I was like, no, my cousin, he was everything I had. He wasn't a cousin, he was more like a brother. He was just a gentle giant. He was just amazing.
The other Southridge student who died was Juan Pacheco Aguilera. The Beaverton School District says it has extra counselors on campus to help kids and staffers deal with this tragedy. Well, a Portland mother is sharing her story of a narrow escape after a man staying with a neighbor broke in and ransacked her apartment. Catherine Cook has more on what happened, and we do want to warn you, some of the video in this story is graphic.
The string of lights on Kimberly Superno's deck.
That was my home.
Now just a faint reminder of life before Monday night.
So right now I don't have a home.
What she does have,
there was blood everywhere, glass everywhere,
is a nightmare.
The refrigerator was hanging out a kitchen window covered in blood. How can one person do this much damage? And how can there be so much blood and someone still be alive?
That person, police say, is 36-year-old Joseph Webb of Kelso. He was arraigned Wednesday on charges including burglary and criminal mischief. Court documents show he has a history of using meth and heroin and has been convicted of multiple crimes in Washington, including assault, robbery, and criminal impersonation. Kimberly says for the past several weeks, he'd been living in the apartment next door here on Northwest NATO Parkway. But she didn't know him as Joseph Webb.
It was a false identity.
Around 8:30 Monday night, Kimberly says she was home with her 13-year-old daughter. Suddenly, she heard neighbors yelling. They were warning her that Webb had climbed onto the roof before jumping down to her patio. Kimberly tried talking with him.
Asking if he was okay, like, what can I do to help? He started saying, I'm gonna hurt you, you're gonna get hurt, I'm gonna hurt you. And so I took off running.
She turned to her daughter.
I just told her, I'm like, get the hell out of the house. Run, grab Coco and Milano, who are our puppy and our kitten.
For the next several hours, police, including the CERT team and crisis negotiators, surrounded the apartment. They say Webb had armed himself with knives and a hammer.
I was just watching him destroy everything, but we made it out alive.
Finally, just before 1 a.m., police say Webb agreed to surrender. Here he is being wheeled out on a stretcher with self-inflicted injuries. No one else was hurt.
We just need to find a home. That's my priority, is making sure that I'm providing stability for my girl, for my daughter.
To help do that, friends set up this GoFundMe page for Kimberly.
I know I'm thankful. I know we'll get through this.
Wildfires have devastated parts of Oregon over the past 2 years, and fire officials are taking steps to try and mitigate the situation. Crews have been performing controlled burns. Yesterday, the Oregon Department of Forestry released a video of its work on 30 million acres of land. Officials say it's a huge job that helps much more than just the forest.
And it's also in non-wildfire prone areas, restoring fish and wildlife habitat, providing for clean water and overall watershed restoration.
ODF says over the years, this work has also provided much needed jobs in rural parts of the state. A Portland program to get people off the streets is restarting after the pandemic shut it down. The Community Volunteer Corps helps people who are in recovery or experiencing homelessness. Yesterday, volunteers spent 5 hours clearing out the drainage at Joseph Wood Hill Park. The program says manual labor teaches valuable skills, including teamwork, time management, and following directions.
It's an opportunity to learn how to live life and recovery before having to involve work.
In the past 13 years, 2,000 people have graduated from Community Volunteer Corps. Right now, it's helping about 100 people. Well, TriMet is coming out of its pandemic malaise, and it says it needs to hire another 300 drivers. During the height of COVID, though, ridership dropped 75%. But now that many of the transportation restrictions are gone, demand is back up. TriMet is offering drivers $25.24 an hour, a $3.50 increase. The company is also offering a $7,500 hiring bonus spread out over 3 years. The drivers' union admits it's tough hiring new talent right now.
The existing drivers have been through a lot during this pandemic. We got to find ways to make the job safer, more enjoyable, better work-life balance.
TriMet says current drivers will also get that pay raise. You don't need a commercial driver's license to apply. TriMet will train anyone who doesn't have bus driving experience. Let's take a little drive down Highway 99 West, and we'll end up in Yamhill County there. That is our live picture of Stoller Family Estates. Ah, wine country. Green vineyards, green grass, and clouds overhead. Yep. Rod, I know you've been tracking some increasing rain.
We have. You know, we started off dry this morning. We kind of had fun with that on Sunrise because we haven't done that very often, right? But the showers have started to pick up. Now, so far, and by the way, we have some showers out east, and a reminder that whitish tone, that's snow at upper elevations out across eastern Oregon. Snow level over the Cascades today about 4,000 feet, but passes are just wet, no issues there. So far, just the green shading, and that means you're looking at scattered areas of mostly light rain, and in some cases, it's just been borderline sprinkles coming and going. No more than a trace of rain being reported so far today at our sites. And we are starting to open up at least a few thin spots in the cloud cover. So there's a little blue over Oregon City. That's the camera down at the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center. But it's just been a solid overcast so far today in downtown Portland. We're at 53 degrees. We'll be up into the mid-50s at 4 p.m. Could get up to around 57 for a high. The big rain story, not today, but what comes in tomorrow night, and that could get us up to number 1. What does that mean? We'll talk about that coming up.
All right, thank you.